this is gonna be is I think it's a hard question, and you know, so we need to find some new leadership, I think, but I know that you know, I'm preaching to the choir here. Everybody here agrees with me, but we're looking, you know, at another 4 years of President Obama, and we don't know quite 2 or 6 years of leadership from Governor Jerry Brown and Kamala Harris as the Democrat as Attorney General. So it's not the happiest of times in terms of where we are in the state. But let me say just that I think that in law enforcement in Orange County, we're doing well, strong, and it's, you know, everything's going pretty well here. I'd like to talk about that maybe a little bit, but before I do that, I think it's pretty important that I address this situation that happened in Irvine just prior to the election. And I'd like to start by saying that you know, I think many of you know that I did a robocall that was against the advertisement, or that was actually in favor of Larry Agron when he was running for mayor of the city of Irvine. And let me start by saying that I was not in favor of having Larry Agron reelected, very much against it, and that's why I agreed to be on a mailer that went out against him. And so I offered a quote or quotation for that mailer, which is that in the city of Anaheim they adopted we had proposed an ordinance, registered sex offender ordinance for this, not just that city but all the cities in Orange County, to keep registered sex offenders out of parks, which would bring the cities in line with what we had adopted in the county. And Larry Agron led the movement, or the city council, to reduce the effectiveness of that ordinance, or the proposed ordinance, by changing it to only being against people who are sexual offenders who had victims as children. Children as victims, and that's really quite a watering down of the section, because there are a lot of sexual offenders whose first victim is not necessarily a child, but the next victim might be, and so forth. So it wasn't a good thing, and I was happy to be quoted to bring him to account for that. But when I saw the mailer, and it was one that I hadn't seen, I didn't see it before it went out. When I did see it, it was a very strong hit piece, and in my view was over the top, and in my view had me quoted as the district attorney, basically saying that Irvine is an unsafe city with a lot of sexual predators, and that they're being funneled into Irvine and so forth. And I just felt that as a district attorney, I couldn't be saying that kind of statement to the people of Irvine, and I felt that couldn't stand, and that the only way to make that correction was to do the robocall. I sense, you know, in the heat of the situation, you make decisions, and that decision was, I think, a bit hasty. And I looked back on it and sort of autopsied it with all the people involved, and realized that I think that there would have been. I couldn't let that stand. I had to make the change, but there would have been other ways to do it. For example, a press release or press conference or something of that nature, and it wouldn't have had the Larry Agron stamp on it, so that would have been a change. And I think that it might have gone down a little bit better had I done it that way. But that's what happened, and I regret that I didn't consider some of the other possibilities of making that change, but that is what occurred. So, and it kind of leads me into discussing what we're here to discuss is and by the way, I'll be open to questions. If anybody wants to talk about this afterwards, if somebody has a desire to do that, I'm certainly available for that purpose. But so, what happened that created this need, or what we felt was a need for this ordinance that would keep sexual offenders out of the parks, is that in Fullerton, there was a circumstance that happened in Fullerton where there was somebody who had recently been released from prison, and he was released to I think Seal Beach or Huntington Beach, one of the beach cities, and but he had some property in Fullerton, and it was very close to. He inherited property in Fullerton. It was very close to a park where there's a very nice park there, where there's a couple of lakes, and kids are constantly playing around there and fishing and doing all kinds of different things. And him